underneath 2 days, it's too wet. I kept put bottles of water that Jim worked in fire district, fire station, chainsaw. Pretty good.
You what?
That's right. He called me at like, I done my first 20 switches.
Yeah, and it's a C kid, and it's different switch, but
With the right people, it's all right.
Yeah.
So what are you doing there?
Huh?
What are you
But
doing
it's
there?
working, volunteer, fireman. I'm
I
driving.
don't know, I mean, I look at, I'm really not used to it, I mean.
There he is. I can do anything except go into a house fire.
Oh, right.
Oh, in spare time.
I can get out there,
I only knew because they sent me the info.
I'm just
Okay.
drive the trucks. Sick?
Yes, I think.
But I was with Penny and Jim last night. so-
Nothing to do.
I was gonna say, that's what I said was right.
Yeah, they had.
I can hang out all night with them too.
Yeah. It was pretty good until 4:57, we got a call from the ranch. We got the quick drill. That's what-
Okay, we're going to start at this point. I think it's about 3 after, maybe? 1 after? Yep, okay. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If anyone needs water, there's water up on the table. Please call the roll.
Gallagher.
Here.
Callaghan.
Here.
Golds.
Here.
Page.
Here.
Scarborough.
Here.
Showers.
Here,
Olson.
Here.
Freeman.
Okay, let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. I'm looking for the approval on the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. You don't want to pull anything, nothing? Call the roll.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Callaghan.
Yes.
Golds.
Yes.
Page.
Yes.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Showers.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Freeman.
Okay. Okay, I have no comments under the mayor's comments. I have public comments and guests. Alderman comments. Okay, old business, Parks and Rec board discussion. Go ahead.
I put that on there. At the last meeting, we had a motion to bring back an ordinance to dissolve. When I got into it, and after speaking with city attorney, I had some questions, so I was hoping I could get some more clear direction on how you wanted the ordinance to read. If nothing else, at a minimum, the email correspondence from the city attorney had shown 4 options as far as what that committee would look like moving forward. And I felt like several of those options were discussed. I wasn't confident that we had settled, that the board had settled on one. So I'm just asking for clarity with the understanding that I will bring back the requested ordinance at the first meeting in June.
Go ahead, John.
I think when we were discussing, we were leaning highly on option 2 as an administrative, or option D, I'm sorry, administrative
I'm
model.
sorry, which one?
D,
D.
the administrative model.
Well, we never discussed option, I think it was the last options, Friends of the Park options, and I had a few questions. I noticed that the email was dated a couple weeks prior to this meeting. So I was wondering, was there a quorum in this decision? Because the last time we were here, John mentioned that there was an email from you, Matthew, that was sent to legal about the options, but there was no mention of that until we came to the meeting the last time. So I was wondering, was there a quorum in that decision? I'm just trying to understand if we're following sunshine law policies, seeking clarity. Thank you.
Well, that's where I was, where I'm not bringing forward an ordinance tonight, that I wanted the full board to come to a decision on the direction of that committee.
I mean, it looks like it's dated April 30th. Our last meeting was May 4th, and Reen said that she had thought she included that correspondence, so we had meant to see it on the 4th, is what she had said, so.
I understand that, but what I'm getting at is, before, like, we go to do anything, we're supposed to at least have a quorum to have the discussion. I didn't see that. I sent information to Mayor Renee, Reen, about it, my concerns about the Parks and Recreation, but it wasn't brought to our attention until, our last board meeting. That's what I want noted in the minutes. I just want to make sure I understand the process, because I really felt it wasn't transparent.
And as I responded on your note, to me, it was addressed only to me and not the board. So that's why it did not come before the board.
So my question is then, if I had CC'd everyone, because I wanted to follow proper protocol and not make you unaware or uncomfortable, what's the best way to, if there is another situation like this, so it can be brought to the entire board, how would you like us to proceed?
You can do mayor and board of aldermen, or just board of aldermen.
Okay.
Well, and I would just like to confirm again, just that, as well, I'm understanding, the mayor can reach out to legal and ask about options without the board didn't make any decisions about what direction we would follow. There's no need for a quorum for us to say, hey, mayor, can you ask a question of our attorneys? So, I mean, again, I wasn't aware of the correspondence happened between you and Reen, but if you asked her a question and then she felt she wanted to reach out to the attorneys, that's not something that, as far as I understand, needs any quorum or board direction. And then it gets brought before the board, which happened at the next meeting, and then the board then makes a decision during a formal quorum. So I would say, as far as I can tell, process was followed to the T legally.
Okay, I'm just seeking clarity, because to me, it was like a little vague, and now that I understand that, I can email everybody, including the mayor, so that there's transparency. I still think like a board's, Parks Friends and Parks and Recreation Board would be nice instead of it dissolving it. That's just my opinion. At least we could go a nonprofit way to get funding as a municipality to create more, I guess, opportunities in the community.
And I believe, so even if option D is taken, which is formalized park management as a staff-led function, so what the Public Works Director has been doing to support the parks is exactly what he continues to do to support the parks, with maintenance, with upkeep, with the day in the park events that are normally scheduled. That doesn't preclude option E from taking place as well. That is, by design and intention, not a city-sponsored, city-subsidized activity or organization. It is led by the community, led by people within the city, to set up a 501c3, not connected to the city, but in benefit of parks. So, and that's the way I believe that's true.
We wouldn't necessarily be able to do D without, you can't do E without removing the parks board, because then if it were having a Friends of the Park thing come up, that's a private thing. I guess the difference would just be like, what level does the board want to encourage that? And what does that look like legally to encourage it? While it's not technically created by the Board of Aldermen, I'm not quite sure what that looks like.
That could be, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, that could be something that could be asked of legal, because they've had different, probably scenarios like that as well.
And if I'm assuming I'm reading this right too, if we, let's say we were operating under option D as we speak, couldn't there also be times that potentially option C would come into play? Like if we got to the
Yes.
point where some large apparatus back there needs to be replaced, that naturally also falls under purchasing policies. So I, on my own, operating under option D, could order that $20,000 apparatus. It would have to be before you all or a group, like playground grant committee, it says in parentheses. And then once that equipment is in place, then that dissolves until the next one. That's the way I
Yeah.
take it. All right.
Yeah, I would say I think that echoes what we said last time, that could be something that comes up as needed. So we don't need to, write any ordinance right now that says, hey, this is something that we might do in the future, is utilize a subcommittee of some kind. We can always just determine and make a subcommittee if we have a project that we feel like needs, a little bit more involvement than what the entirety of the board wants to do. But the board also can always come together just during a normal alderman meeting, and an alderman comment, a public works director can come to us and say, hey, I have this idea for a new function, or this piece of equipment needs to be replaced. And then again, we can either address it as the entire board, or then form a smaller subcommittee if it needs, more legwork than what we want to do in a whole meeting.
Anything else?
So Matthew, for what you need from us, would we be able to just basically say that we want to move forward with this option D, the administrative model? And would that be enough for you?
It would, like I said, I had started the process, so I've got kind of what the verbiage for what the
Repealing?
solution, right, the repeal and replace of that ordinance, what that would look like. What I didn't have was, I wasn't comfortable with knowing what the will of the board was on the restructure.
Okay. So
now
So do we need to talk about the restructure, even though we understand the administrative part? Because Chris brings up some valid points. He has a limitation to what he can do. There might have to be a few things in there that the ordinance says these are exceptions or go-to for these things to ensure that it doesn't get bottlenecked somewhere.
He has in his budget, he has a line for parks. It includes maintenance of the park. If there's something special with a big price tag, that would have to come before the board anyway.
My budget also includes like if I have to replace one of the trash cans.
The small ticket items.
Something, just like everything else under my budget, $1,000.
I still think it would be nice to have a Friends of the Park as an option too, if there's a need. And let's say, for example, there's a big amount of influx of families. They may be interested in this and someone that wants to take the torch of it. I think we shouldn't just limit it to administrative, because there might be people in the future, or they'll have to come in and advocate for that.
So would you like to have something back from the attorney that addresses that?
That's fine if that works for you. I'm just saying how we can meld a few things in there if there's still an interest in the Parks and Recreation Board and, or Friends of the Parks or Friends of the Park and Recreation in Pleasant Valley.
Does the city have any say over the 501c3 being created?
I don't think so.
So,
It's a nonprofit.
yeah, so, we can talk about it, but we can't do anything about it really.
Yeah,
ultimately.
and that's what's like, we can't make an ordinance
Yeah.
that says, hey, this is a thing that's going to happen. People have to do, that would not be legal. So that's why I was like, that's where I don't understand where, maybe not I don't understand, but maybe legal clarification would be helpful on how, they would define to encourage it, because it said the city could encourage the formation of a private Friends of the Park, so I don't know where that like kind of encouragement falls. Is that just us as aldermen can go talk to friends and neighbors and say, hey, if you're interested in being a part of the parks, maybe create a 501c and I just, maybe that's where that clarity that we
Well,
want is
and
what
that's what
encouragement
I'm
means.
really
So-
looking at, like, okay, so I just want us to think past ourselves because, in 5-20 years, we don't know what's gonna happen, but to have some language or clarity and background so we are aligned with legal so it doesn't come in, haunt us in the future.
Okay, so.
Do we need a motion from the board to make that clarification of option D, or is this just a discussion that reclarifies
I
the
think
previous
after
motion?
you've had discussion, and Matthew was not clear the last time, I think you need to vote on it again.
So we do not need to re-vote on bringing the ordinance to repeal,
That is
The order.
already been passed.
because that's already been passed. So this would just be
The creation.
a motion to
Set the restructure option.
option D administrative model for the Parks Department. I will make said motion.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
I would like for legal, Clerk Matthew, if he could look into option D.
Absolutely. I've got a note for my to-do list. But I'm gonna reach out to legal specifically for option D. If the will of the board was option D, how would we encourage the possibility of a Friends of the Park type nonprofit organization, as well as if we need, and I know the answer, but I want their confirmation, if we wanted or needed to now have a committee in the future, we could do that as well.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Clerk call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Coles,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
No.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
So you've got your
I
direction.
do. Thank you all.
Okay, city attorneys, anything else there? Advisory committees, administration, back to you.
Back to me. The only thing I had to add, other than the report I've given you, you should have a couple of new pages that didn't make your packet. First of which is a note from earlier today from Anna Yendez from Wabra Municipal Law, specific to council.
56,
36,
36, 52.
3652 about what we talked about, the vacation carryover policy. It came up in our department head meeting this morning, that there was some confusion as to what this would mean for our existing staff and whether or not the policy was meant to be, if you were a current employee earning vacation, if you were entitled to 100% payout of what you had now, or 100% of what you had at time of separation because you were a current employee. So if you were truly grandfathered in to the 100% payout, and then if we use June 7th as the deadline, anybody that was hired after that, their vacation payout at separation would be the 33%. So that's the clarification we needed. But that's what that note was about. When we get to that point in the meeting, that's what we needed to consider. And the other item related to resolution 2026-05-1802, on the back page, there was a word change that's highlighted. It originally read shall, we have changed that to must.
Exciting stuff.
Unless there were questions about any of that or about my report, that's all I have.
Okay. Fire department.
Well, I provided a written report, and that's basically all I have tonight, so if anybody has any questions on it.
Now, do we still have, our vehicle at Liberty?
You do.
Okay, can you talk about that for?
So I just, yes, that's a good point. I sent a note to their fire chief today. He said they don't know when their other one is gonna be ready. They haven't got, obviously like everything else, it got delayed. He said we can have it back if you know, because the time is up. I had said it's just gonna be sitting here. I can tell you what they've done. They just put brakes on it as well.
Really?
So far, since they've had that vehicle, they've put 4 new dual tires on the back, changed the oil, they put new brakes on. So in my opinion, I mean, they're taking
It's
great.
to our benefit for them to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, when we get it back here, you know, we're just gonna check it. It's not really gonna be running, that we're gonna check it each morning, but that's kind of, it is up to you. I told them that I would speak to you about if we wanted to get an updated agreement, we could do that. But I think he's frustrated with the fact that it's taken longer
so long.
But on the flip side, he certainly is doing what he can to make sure that rig is running. He's not running on the ground to give it back to us. He is maintaining it, and so anyway.
So if we did another contract extension, which would cover us based on our insurance liability, how far out would he want to go?
I don't know. I think he's, like I said, the date that he had previously given no longer is valid, so
Okay.
I think, like I said, I think he's frustrated. He does not know, and so he's kind of throwing his hands up saying, well, if you get it back, you come back, but.
No, I just want a contract that protects us.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
And then
I would guess, this is another, if we want to just do that 6 weeks again,
How about we do 60 days and just
How about 90
90.
days?
90 days?
Because that's realistic.
You
And then I
might
had
get
another
mentioned.
question too. What else needs to be done with the fire truck? Are those the only things he needs to get done, or are we just waiting for? Are we just waiting for?
he is short an ambulance.
Oh, okay.
So that's all it is. He's short an ambulance, so they don't have, they're down an ambulance. So basically if, they'll be calling us for mutual aid if,
Oh, wow.
you know, and we'll be out of our city responding to Liberty. So, I mean,
That's what happens.
So we have a primary ambulance, it's in service, it's not in the shop, it's functioning appropriately for now.
well, it's brand new, so yeah.
We should hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so.
44 it would have daily truck checks done on it. I think it's a good idea to continue to lend the ambulance to our neighbor while they are still down one.
Which town is this again?
It is Liberty.
Oh, okay.
I second that.
Did you make a motion?
I can make it a motion.
Let's hear it.
I agree with that.
The last thing I heard was a 90-day from somebody.
Yeah,
90
I
days.
agree.
Oh, let's do a
Could-
90-day extension.
If worst case scenario, can we put like a clause if they're unable to get it 180? I'm just saying, just to have a buffer, or do you think it's gonna be that long for?
Well,
Don't put your neck out there.
yeah, they didn't think it was gonna be this long, so.
I mean, we can always
They-
extend
they
it
were-
again,
They were
too,
really
so.
anticipating
Yeah.
6 weeks in the original, which is double, already doubled, so.
Yes. I think mayor and aldermen and women, I think going with the 90 days with like a clause, if there is a need for our services, be able to reconsider it. assess it?
I think we should revisit it. If they're at 90 days and still don't have it back, we can revisit it at that time instead of giving them open-ended 6 months.
I wouldn't think that that would be the case. but,
So it will, if we do it that way, it would be up to you to come before the board before that expires and talk to us again. Okay?
So we would need, because that last one was in ordinance form, we would have an ordinance.
Yes. So is there a motion to extend it for 90 days?
A motion to extend it to 90 days.
Stephanie, you want to do the second?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Clerk, call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Foltz,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. You got your marching orders.
Okay,
I
anything else?
don't think so. Okay. Jared's not here and Kramer's not here, so I guess there's nothing out of the police. Okay. Sarah's not here. Chris, come forward.
So I probably should save some of the stuff I put in last board meeting's packet to put in this one. But I wanted to get that information out there so you guys knew what we were working on. I don't have anything, I didn't have anything that required board attention, anything super exciting, you're just plugging away and stuff. Anticipating getting certainly one of the two candidates started, or favored one, if you will, has a lot of direct experience with what that job entails. So excited about that, and we're going to do a second interview. I threw it out there to Matt and Lisa to see what they had available, and he's aware that he'll be brought back and sit down, and he'll go for drug test, physical, and we'll go from there, which would be awesome because then we get caught up again. That's all I have unless anybody's got any questions.
We're holding.
Move that forward to get full staff.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Personnel committee?
I forgot to write my written report, so we didn't discuss much anyway, because it was a very short meeting, but overall, we were just kind of checking up on things that we were already discussing, so there's really no updates from personnel. If anything, there's the vacation carryover policy, which we have before the board, that is it an ordinance or resolution?
It's a resolution.
That resolution, so we'll discuss that later, but
I do have a question for you.
yeah.
Did you guys do any kind of a survey among the employees for what they wanted out of the vacation policy? No?
It was brought up to us
Through?
By Jared.
by Jared. I'm trying to remember the specifics because it wasn't brought up at the last personnel, it was the one before.
And I think you weren't there for that first one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. Well, I don't remember now.
Here's the premise. So we have, what, 20-ish full-time employees? The vast majority of those full-time employees are police officers and a handful of dispatch. So the problem that Jared was having was during that first year and a half of employment with the city, it requires a fairly extensive amount of training to get some of these guys up to speed. And new employees in that time span generally don't take as much vacation as they would if they had been here for a longer period of time, and when they are fully signed off and certified that they can do and hit the road by themselves. So, and what these guys were finding was they were losing a significant amount of vacation after their first year because they were hitting their cap while also not taking time off during their first year of training. And so to kind of alleviate those issues, we talk about raising the cap to double their current band and reduce the payout because a large amount of hours, should somebody leave the city, could be a pretty large amount of money to pay out for a single transaction, for a single employee that decides to leave. So to help mitigate that risk of a large payout is to cap the percentage of the payout to still allow the full, double their current amount, but at 33% of their current pay rate.
If they leave, yeah. So, and this is what because we had discussed this one as a full board because we weren't able to have the personnel meeting, the meeting before where we were going to discuss it. So this whole thing was kind of discussed with the entirety of the board, not at the last meeting, the prior one, something like that. But yeah, in short, it is a net benefit to the employees. Ultimately, they'll have less when they leave if they haven't held quite as much, but they're doubling the amount that they can carry over.
It encourages them to take it prior to leaving.
To leaving, yeah. So actually use their vacation time versus somebody building it all up and then quitting and taking a full payout. But they're still ending up with, probably close to the amount of payout that they would have gotten because they can about double the amount of vacation that they can hold over. But now it's 33% they can take instead of 100 when they leave.
Or do.
Yeah, so that's what we need to, that's what we'll be discussing as the different options, how we want to do that, but yeah, that'll come up during the resolution ordinances time.
All right. Finance committee?
I have three things, but they're very short three things. The first thing is we have new charts in our packets. Our running difference between actual income and expenses is still fairly good. We normally see a shrinkage of the gap in the month of April, and we are about 25,000 off from where we were last year as far as that difference, but our income still far exceeds our expenses, so things are looking good there. Sales and use tax income, we are tracking nearly identically to where we were in 2025, which was an increase over the 2 prior years as well. So no concerns on income and on sales and use tax income. Item number 2 is next month, this upcoming June, we will have our balance sheets supplied in the board packet in the second week or the second board meeting. We're continuing that cycle of every quarter, including a balance sheet. And then the third thing is we are transitioning additional accounts over to Hawthorne. That also requires us to make a motion so that we can hand the minutes from this meeting to the bank and say, hey, the full board authorized the creation of accounts. So, and Matthew, you're gonna have to fill me in because I left the email at home. What accounts do we need? Thank you. Okay, so there's a number of them. Currently with Central, we have the sewer account, road and streets account, capital improvements account, fire department sales tax account, payroll account, and parks and recreation. So I move that we authorize the creation of the following accounts at Hawthorne Bank: sewer, road and streets, capital improvements, fire department sales tax, payroll, parks and recreation.
Second.
What's that? Okay. All right.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
If having this park and recreation account doesn't matter that we don't have a park and recreation board, does it? We can still, he can use the money in there? Okay.
And then I had another question. We're transferring our accounts from where to Hawthorne?
From Central Bank.
Okay, I thought we had already did that, so we're just now finalizing it.
We had our core accounts moved over.
Oh, okay.
So think general operating fund, we have some investment accounts that were moved over. However, some of these stub accounts were still set up in Central. It takes more effort to move some of them over. There's back-end processes, especially around payroll, that required a little bit more thought to be put into it. So this is nailing down some of those ancillary accounts.
And I guess my question is, since we've gotten our court transferred and we're getting our, these other ones that had a little back end challenge, what is the benefit from us transferring from Central Bank to Hawthorne? I'm just curious what, I mean, it's been a minute since we talked about it. Just refresh.
So Hawthorne Bank, in our experience, has had better customer service and better direction of how to invest funds. So both of those, better customer service than what we were experiencing at Central, which our administrative team who interacts with the bank on a consistent basis can attest to. Is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
You are not, that's accurate.
Okay, and then number two is, especially when we first started talking about investments with the city, remember prior, we didn't do investments. We had a forgotten about one. And we had one that was set up like multiple years ago that, again, was kind of forgotten about. There wasn't a unified strategy. And when we talked to Central Bank about investing, we kind of didn't get a lot of direction. And we asked for information and they just never followed through on providing the information that we needed. CD rates, recommendation of direction to go, whether to use liquid series. We were approached by MOSIF around the same time. And Hawthorne has far and away exceeded our expectations on providing direction on investment accounts.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Questions are answered. Call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Goltz,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Anything else, Patrick?
That is it. I'm done talking.
You gotta go.
We
Not
should-
bad, no, not bad.
Don't do false. All right. New business. Anyone got any new business? Consideration of ordinances. Let's go to having Matthew read Council Bill 3651.
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Pleasant Valley and Devery Hunt for professional consulting services.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion.
I'll just throw up an argument for pro on here. We, in our initial, this is the second agreement with this professional. And our experience with the first contract has been phenomenal. The accomplishment of the tasks in the first contract were met as indicated, even despite having a lot of challenges that were discovered during the process. So I think this second agreement, continuing that relationship, is a really good idea.
Okay. Anyone else? Clerk call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Goltz,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we need to read it again.
Mhm.
An ordinance approving an agreement between the city of Pleasant Valley and Devery Hunt for professional consulting services.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Clerk call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Goltz,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passed. Congratulations, Gary. You may regret all of this, I don't know. All right.
That's enough to feel bad.
All right, we need Matthew to read Council Bill number 3652.
An ordinance amending section 303 vacation benefits to the city of Pleasant Valley personnel manual.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now, discussion on this.
Yes.
So here,
This includes that new. So that's what we're,
Yes, this is what, yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I sent that out to everybody, but it was late afternoon, so I want to make sure that you have a copy in front of this one.
okay. So this is Sorry.
It's okay.
Never given opportunity to read. One of the things that I wanted to mention was during the personnel committee, we spoke with Matthew and Lisa about their ability to track 2 buckets of time. So option number 1, which I think was our subconscious direction with this bill, is all prior time is recognized as 100% payout. So everything accrued prior to June 7th of 2026 is recognized as 100% payout. Everything accrued after that point in time is paid out if you are released or if you leave the service of the city. It is paid out at 33%. And as employees use their time, they use out of the initial bucket. And then once that is fully depleted, then transition to using the time on the second bucket of time. And I just want to confirm, Matthew, you guys are still capable of tracking those times, those buckets of time that people have separately.
Yeah, we absolutely are, and I think, if I understood you correctly, if employee A has, as of June 7th, employee A has 50 hours of accrued vacation. And they take a week of vacation. That 40 hours they took comes out of that 50 they have accrued at 100%.
Yes.
So they've got 10 hours left, and then they're continuing to accrue at a payout rate of that new accrual of 33%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then if they were to then quit, whatever, a few weeks later, they would get 100% payout of the 10 hours remaining in that first bucket, and then 33% payout of any additional vacation acquiring, just after June 7th.
I wish the other department heads were here to speak on this, because we had a lively conversation about it this morning. What that's, and it's fine if that's the will of the board, but what that's gonna mean is essentially if we're gonna take from that original bucket, what exists right now, everybody's gonna be, that's where we're gonna take from. If you take any vacation at all, that's where it's gonna come from. That 100% bucket is likely gonna be reduced to 0.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, and
Which is
over the
fine,
next
if that's
10 years,
the intent.
Yeah, and then the thought is, because eventually if they don't take their vacation and they let it build up, then if they were to quit after whatever it is, 2 years, and they were to be able to keep that 100% status, we'd be paying out a huge amount of vacation time. And the majority of employees are going to be people who have been here.
Take their vacation.
Well, and that's what we want to encourage. We want to encourage people to use their vacation time. It's good for the city, it's good for them, it helps keep people focused and refreshed. So we want people to use their vacation time.
Okay, so what about people who've been here for 20-some years? How would that impact their retirement? Would they be grandfathered in? They have no issues. Just wanted clarity on
Yeah,
that.
it shouldn't affect retirement
Yeah,
at
it
all.
won't have any effect on retirement, it's just on vacation.
I apologize, I'm using wrong verbiage, but okay, for vacation, if they've been here for over 20 years and they might have, like I knew someone that had like 300 hours worth of vacation, how would you analyze that? And
Slowly but
Well,
surely use up that.
Well, the difference is right now, we don't allow people to carry over more than a year's worth. So it doesn't matter if they've been here for 20 years or 1 year, they can only accrue so much vacation time. This new policy will allow them to accrue more vacation time. So whether somebody's been here for 20 years or 1 year or 2 years, they'll now be able to save up more. So then they could take a longer vacation or whatever it might be if they let it build up for 2 years.
Yeah, so in our board packet, it includes our current language. On the second page of the accrual, so first of all, 20 years of service entitles 192 hours per year of vacation. Under our current policy, employees can only carry over 120 hours, period, regardless of what band they're in, 120 hours max. So if somebody has been here for 20 years, they are automatically you already can't carry over.
They can't
as
even
much as
carry
what
over
you
an
accrued.
entire year worth of
Yeah.
vacation. This will change that
So
now.
this will change that. This will change the 192 hours. They can carry over to the next year up to twice that. Can't do the math quick in my head.
Okay, hold on, you said 192 hours.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Go ahead, what was the total?
Yeah,
384.
384.
Okay. That's the total they get.
And then if somebody has accrued 384 hours of time of PTO, and they have not taken that time, and they decide that they wish to separate from the city, then they are paid out at 33% of 384 hours.
At their pay rate.
Okay, so regardless, so this new one allows them up to,
Double.
okay, all right, that's
Double
it.
1 year. And that, I'm happy you brought that up, Pat, because it's something that, I think it was mentioned at the last meeting when we first brought this up, but that was one of the other issues we were trying to address, is that for people who have been here a long time,
Yeah,
they couldn't even carry over an entire year worth of vacation. So they would get capped before they would even hit a full year, which doesn't really make any sense. That was one of the issues we were trying to address as well.
I think the chief has,
So I have a question. So just to clarify, you were saying the second bucket, I don't know exactly what that means. So just for example, if I have 50 hours on the books, on June 7th, I've accrued 20 hours and I take a vacation day. Is it come out of the 20 hours or the 50 hours?
The 50 hours.
50 hours.
So what
Which
you're
is all
saying
the
is,
buckets.
but I think you need to probably check on that
Yeah.
because I accrued that 50 hours before this ordinance came into place, but you're taking that from an accrual that happened before. You're drawing a line in the sand of June 7th
A
to
forward
move
line.
forward,
in the
a
sun.
forward line. But you're taking my vacation that I've already accrued before June 7th.
But it doesn't
No, and you're
take
not-
your
we're not
vacation
taking
though.
it. You're
Well,
using
you are, but no,
Yeah.
you absolutely are. You said two different buckets. So now, that which was accrued before June 7th is now, basically, you're taking it out of that bucket. So you don't have to pay it at 100%.
The PTO that you take, yes. The future PTO that you take after June 7th will come out of your pre-June 7th. Is it a first in, first out kind of thing? You use your earliest accrued vacation first.
But to clarify, the 33% is what you would be paid out if you were to leave the city. So it's not like you're getting any less vacation time.
I'm talking, what I was speaking about was that separation.
Okay, yeah, so like, yes, if you were to separate, and you took a but it would be no different than right now. I mean, if you were to take a vacation and then separate from the city, you don't get paid then for that vacation time that you used. It would be used. So, I mean, that's kind of the way that we're looking at it.
I think to verbalize your concern, it is if you take a vacation after June 7th, you want to use the time that you've accrued after June 7th and bank your pre-June 7th time, so that if you were to leave next year, you would have your full 50 hours of 100% payout that we're not forcing you to use when you do take vacation. Am I?
Yeah, that was my point.
Okay.
But from a, go ahead, James.
Oh, I know you mentioned it earlier, Patrick, but remind me what the motivation, why we're even changing anything right now, why we're wanting to.
Yeah, so two things. Number one is the large percentage of employees that are in a very rigorous training period during their first year of employment, where they are probably not taking as much PTO as they would if they were already signed off on everything. So police officers, detectives, things like that. That forms probably optimally 50% of our full-time employees. And dispatchers. So, because our optimal staffing is 10 police officers plus a good number of full-time dispatchers as well. So that's like roughly over 40%. And then we have 4 full-time public works employees, right?
At full staff.
At full staff. So plus the 1, plus 2 employees in admin, and then our fire chief. So across the employees, that first year was impacting a larger percentage of them. And then secondarily, for those who have been with the city for a fairly long amount of time, their accrual cap of 120 across the board is fairly limiting.
So did someone approach the
Jared.
city? Okay, Jared, okay.
And because
And
he had,
what was his concern exactly?
he had a lot of police officers whose vacation time was expiring after a year.
Yeah.
And then they can't keep it, it doesn't roll over. So they would just lose the hours. But they didn't necessarily have the time to take a vacation when they're in the middle of training.
So the idea sounds like then is to allow them to keep the hours so
Yes,
that
for
after
longer.
the first year or whatever of the more rigorous training and such, they can take more vacation.
Yes. So instead of it basically roughly being about 1 year of PTO that they can, save up to 1 year, now they can save up to 2 years of vacation time. But to balance that, we looked at our policy and we said, we pay 100% payout when somebody leaves. So if they're accruing 2 years worth of PTO and we're paying 100% of that, that is a lot of money. That is a big difference for the city. So we felt that the best balance, and again, we matched this to another city. I don't remember which city it was, but it was, again, based off Jared's recommendation. We're matching a similar city, what they do for their police officers. That's considered a very good competitive vacation policy where they can accrue 20 or 2 years worth of hours, but then they get paid out at 33%. So we copied that same number.
At 5 years, you currently reach the cap that you carry over. So if for some reason we were short-handed and vacation wasn't, that you can't deny it, but we can highly stress, please don't go on vacation because we're always short-handed. Then they accrue some more hours, but they can't keep it because they didn't take the vacation. That's partially the city's reason, but the city's fault to allow them to accrue it. And then we're also encouraging to take it when it's available for the full staff. Because we don't want to pay them 33%. We want them to take the time we give them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did the math just on a little bit, but is it roughly that if someone did save up 2 years worth of vacation and got the payout at 33%, it would be pretty close to 1 year at full pay payout.
That would be
Well,
50%,
1 year with the
I think,
current
so.
policy, because it's 120. I guess it depends on the level of where you're at. How many
There's
years.
hours. It's not days.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what your max is, what you can earn.
Yeah,
in a
so
year.
if it was up to the double, then we're looking at roughly, 40? Everything after 10 years is over a month of PTO.
So
Street. Chris?
when I read the last paragraph, highlighted, to me, it doesn't reflect a couple of the explanations that you just mentioned.
Chris, I'm sorry, would you remind me to come to the microphone? I'm having trouble hearing you over the, now it's off.
So last paragraph, under what the top, to me, reads differently than the explanations that were just given. And it also reads, to me, that reads, what the explanation was doesn't match what Lauber recommended.
Are you on,
For the legal.
D or A?
We're talking about this email,
So
the
Oh,
last
sorry.
paragraph in this email.
Sorry.
yeah.
Exhibit B
Yes,
on this page, highlighted at the bottom.
okay, I was wrong.
The only thing that I see that isn't put in the last paragraph is the clarification of first in hours, first used hours. So your first accrued hours, which was in your pre-June 7th bucket, would be the hours used for any PTO that you use after that time period. So if you take vacation in August and you have pre-June PTO hours, you use those hours first. And then once that bucket becomes zero, you've used all of your pre-June 2026 hours, then you start using your accrued hours after in your second bucket, which post.
Wouldn't that be another way of saying, if I've got 100 hours and 3 weeks before I retire, say, I use 20 hours, wouldn't I be paid 100% for what was left on the books?
Yes,
If they were acquired prior to
to June 7th,
this
yes.
going into effect.
So right now, as we speak, I have 719 hours of time, which equates to $28,000.
How
Wait,
is,
You can't.
you get our current,
That's
I'm not here to
vacation.
talk about an individual employee,
Not talking.
but it's impossible for somebody to have over 700 hours of PTO.
Vacation sick person.
They're just talking about vacation.
Vacation's
Yeah,
the
just
only part we're
vacation.
talking about.
Which currently is limited to
20.
120.
120
So it doesn't,
hours.
it's not affecting at all sick person. It's just vacation.
Although you're telling me you've got a $28,000 payout at some point in the future.
Well, maybe in 5 years, but not anytime soon.
But yes, it's only for the vacation, which is currently capped at 120. So if you have 120 hours of vacation
So I'm-
approved right now, you
I'm
keep all of it.
I'm 15 years, so I'm 166.
But that's the problem with our current policy, is it limits you to 120, even though you can get 166 hours in a year. So that was part of the problem we had with the old policy, is somebody who's been here for 15 years, you can get 166 hours in a year, but you only get to keep 120 of them if you don't use your vacation time. So that was part of what we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
So now you'll actually be able to keep all 166, but anything, over that 120, so the extra 40-something hours that you would make would be paid out at 33% instead of 100%.
Is that the way you understand it? Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I will say, I would like to see that sentence put in there regarding when people use their PTO, it's used out of the prior bucket. And given that this is generating lively discussion, I would like to hear a little bit more from our department heads about how this impacts themselves and their employees that would be impacted by this accrual policy. So I'm good with, I make a motion to table this
Second.
until we receive additional feedback from impacted employees and we see updated verbiage that talks about what bucket is used first.
And for further discussion on that, I agree with Pat, because the point of this is really to help our employees. This was not a way to try to punish them or give them less vacation. This is a way to try to help make sure that people get to use their vacation time and it doesn't expire. So that is the issue we're trying to solve right now.
I also think, maybe we can make it complex and then dilute it into clearer pieces just in case there's still confusion, maybe with the department heads, to flesh it out so it's clear. So there's no vagueness.
I just have a question too. Legally speaking, are we supposed to have a certain payout for, so this could easily just be 120 hours you get paid out, but we allow you to accrue 2 years worth of PTO.
According to Lawver, there is an immense amount of latitude in selecting a policy for vacation accrual, vacation payout, whether we do it at all, or what system we use to do it. There's no state mandated or regulated requirement or FSLA, the FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act. There's not a lot of direction or requirements from that. However, the city has a policy and has had a policy on the books that's as written. You have your caps, you have your accrual rates, you have 100% payout, all of that is currently in it. And that forms a loose agreement, not a hard contract, but a fairly enforceable contract with employees that says employees have come to expect this existing policy. The hours that they've accrued under that policy can't be changed just arbitrarily at a meeting. They have to have the policies that they've been applicable with for their employment and when they started their employment. And that needs to maintain intact.
Yeah, and that's why we basically
that's why we're
are
having
discussing the 2
two
buckets thing, because we can't say, okay, Chris, all of your hours now that you would be paid out are now paid out at 33%. That's where
But you
legally-
are, but you are doing that because you're emptying the first bucket. If the only way that he can,
he would no longer have those hours once he uses them.
exactly, so it would be, it kind of,
It's the hours that he already had legally, the hours that he has already accrued,
Vacation.
the vacation hours he has already accrued, he has a legal right to get a payout at 100% on.
but you're taking those away.
So, I mean,
I'm not, I mean, if he uses a vacation,
So
that's
he
him
comes-
taking them. He's using that time.
But he's also accrued time. He was hired under the understanding that he would be paid 100% of his vacation time.
Correct.
Now any vacation time he takes is taken away from that 100% that you guaranteed that he was gonna make when he took the job and accrued that vacation. You're taking it out of that bucket first. So what you're saying is, you're not guaranteeing the 100% that he was promised when he was hired, because you're taking it away.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I was,
And that's
kind
what
of what I was getting at, is
Bob
that,
reflected on in citing 3 municipalities.
Yeah, and that's, I want to make sure that we do get this full discussion. That's why we're doing this table.
I think you need to have Robert here.
Yeah.
But yeah, but just to clarify, the legal right would basically then be for Chris to say, okay, I don't like this new vacation policy that pays out at 33%, where I get to keep more hours, so I quit. And if he does that, he gets paid 100% of the hours he has. So that's the difference, is that now you guys are having the understanding that this is the policy going forward, and then you get to choose to keep your employment here with this new policy. But if you were to decide, I don't like this new policy, I no longer want to work here, you are still entitled to that 100% right to that 100% payout. So I mean, legally, that's the way that I'm looking at it, is making that you're legally covered, that what you had agreed to when you started working here, you still get. It's just in the future, the policy will be changed.
Well, I think you're making my argument, but
Well, the biggest thing is the vacation PTO time is not meant to be a retirement fund. It's meant to be used, and we're encouraging the use of it by reducing a payout for holding it until I leave. Because the company I work for paid out about $27 million for people that had accrued vacation over 20 years. And they're paying them a current pay rate, as opposed to when they started 20 years prior and were making 50% money. So they got big benefits, and the company decided, no, we're gonna end it, we're gonna pay everybody out, and this is all you get to do. So we're not restricting that, but we're encouraging to use what's on the books, because it's to your benefit, to the city's benefit, that you take that time that we're giving you. And if we have employees, bulk of them, that don't use all their vacation, then we need to look at, are we giving you too much? And none of you want us to reduce the amount that you accrue, and we don't want to, but if nobody's gonna use it and they wanna hold it, then that's a viable option that I don't think any of us wanna do.
so at least from my perspective, unless this is like a financial thing for the city, then I definitely, I'm more supportive of a plan where we keep it as is, but as far as 100% payout for 120 hours, but then just give them the ability to accrue more where they don't get any payout if they keep it. And it could be a year and a half, it could be 2 years, but I'm more supportive of that than going 33% payout personally.
That's fair too. I think that's valuable.
I see what you're saying. So it's kind of a hybrid, are you under, so,
I I apologize, James, I did not, I was trying to
you're
write and listen, I missed on both.
We had a motion to table. I know that we should probably take a vote on that, but I would like to continue the discussion afterward of what we want something that comes back to us to look like, in addition to the feedback from employees.
Yeah.
So I call for a vote.
I make a motion to table the discussion.
That's already been
Yeah. We just need a vote.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Colts,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Okay, I am gonna say this, I think this is an important issue, so it may benefit us to do a special board meeting, so at night, so everybody is here, and can hear the options, and bring a Lobber representative here.
Sure.
I agree.
The other option that I could recommend if people would be interested is that this being a personnel issue and this was originally supposed to be discussed at personnel, we could bring it to a personnel meeting
But you meet in the afternoon and a lot of,
for the aldermen say can't come. Okay, I mean, yeah, if the alderman would rather take the time, but I don't mind personnel handling it and fleshing out the details and taking that time so the board doesn't have to. That's the purpose of the personnel committee, is that to save you guys time. But if people would all like to be here and it's easier to have another meeting, that is also obviously totally fine.
Could we move the next personnel meeting to like 6 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock on that Thursday prior to the board meeting?
Would you be able to do that?
Hopefully, but
I'm-
Did you get that, Hazel? Let me double check.
sure. Is it the 28th?
The 28th? Yeah, I could do that. We could move it.
So, and see if Lawver can come to that 28th meeting, and that way we could all also be there.
I think that would be a great idea, because I feel like we're fragmented because, or like a puzzle, we're putting the pieces together from everyone's perspective, but we all need to be on the same page to ensure that we understand and make sure the verbiage is correct and that we're legally covered so it doesn't come back with a lawsuit or discrimination class. I think that's an awesome idea.
So I will say, we're talking about doing it in a personnel committee meeting at 6 o'clock when there are department heads and employees impacted. I would probably want to talk to us, and now we're forcing them to stay here after 5 o'clock to talk to the committee.
Do we have some way of phoning in or zooming in if need be, if they couldn't be in person?
I mean,
That's messing with employees' evenings.
Yeah, that's still.
Then how are we gonna move to a resolution if we don't have the discussion, or what is it best? We do small like meetings with Serenity's group, and then she summarizes expectations and then goes back to us. Yeah, and then have the lawyer's perspective. I don't know if we're gonna respect everyone's time, but if we're gonna be at a stalemate if we don't try to accommodate the needs of the aldermen to make this resolution or ordinance.
Yeah. So I think personnel committee at our regularly scheduled time is probably the best option. It's during the workday, and there are 3 board members here that are a part of it that allows for a working session to happen. Any alderman who is available at that time is more than welcome to sit in, but it doesn't force employees to stay here at the office after 6 o'clock in order to discuss something that is pertinent to their employment.
So you're saying at that point, the employees could come in during the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and
Unless they're not doing other things, of course.
the department heads are
Or-
always welcome and often are at the personnel committee meetings because it is something that the personnel affects them so directly. But obviously, we would let them know this is what's going to be discussed at the upcoming personnel meeting, so they would
Can we get a longer person or whatever,
just still
whoever
come.
we're talking about, might do? Hold on.
I think it's easier if we ask them to come.
what date is it?
Probably.
It still will be the 28th.
Okay, so Anna can,
It's not up to us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's gonna be-
okay,
Yeah,
so we're good.
So just confirm with the board, or is everyone comfortable with that?
having a meeting, the regular personnel meeting at 2:00 on the Thursday before our board meeting.
We will talk with department heads specifically on this issue, either come to a conclusion or give options to the board, and then we will come with options or a recommendation based off of our discussion with the
And it's
department
open,
heads.
and it's open only to department heads, or not? Okay.
But I would highly encourage the department heads to be there to speak on behalf of themselves and their departments.
Okay.
So you're saying Thursday the 28th?
Yeah, and that's our normal scheduled personnel meeting. We always have it at the Thursday before a board meeting at 2:00, if people are available. I'm gonna be here.
So, and then you're saying when you have the special meeting, whatever you call it.
I think
We won't do the special
that's
meeting.
in place of it.
We're just gonna keep it inside personnel, so that way department heads and employees aren't having to be here after hours.
The other, what I was gonna say was, without if it was done that way, without the voting people, our meeting that we have, without the voting people, the voters yourselves, don't get like the true gist of the meeting.
I mean, and that's, ultimately, that is the goal of the personnel committee and any of these committees, is because for the most part, the board is volunteer-based. So instead of having the entirety of the board have to take time to do things like finance and
understand
personnel,
that.
yeah, so that is my goal, and obviously I will try to get as much information from you guys and come to a conclusion that everyone is very happy with, and then we can voice that, summarize it to the
Or at
board.
least happy. Yeah.
And then more discussion will obviously happen.
Yeah, and then the board always comes up with the final discussion, so if there's further discussion from the department heads at that next board meeting, then that is always welcome as well.
And we attempt to live stream everything, so the video will always be available for people who aren't able to be there in order to capture the raw verbatim feedback.
The essence.
I think you got, it's a divide too, and I always say this because of the discussions we've had in 2 department meetings regarding the older guys.
He's like, hey.
The older department heads, I think we're kind of looking at it different than the 2 younger ones. The 2 young ones are using their time and happy with that and don't have the build-up with the monetary value. And then you got the older guys who may not be here in 4 or 5 years that, want their money. Okay, so I'm not trying to speak for people, but that's the gist that I got in the conversations.
Well, we'll discuss it fully at the personnel meeting, and I think looking at what James said is a very viable option. That way no one is losing any time. So we'll discuss it fully and make sure that, the point of this is not to punish anyone or make anyone lose any time. It's to help. We do want to encourage people to use their vacation, because I think what John said is on the nose. It is not meant to be a retirement policy. It is meant to be time to be used.
And I get it, and that's, I understand that.
So, but
But what it is on the books right now is
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
And what it's been, it's 100% for all
Mhm.
3.
Yeah, but if you don't get to take vacation this year, you're losing money because you can't accrue any more of it. If you-
Right, I haven't hit there yet, but it's right around the corner.
Right, right. So
we want to have something that works for everybody and is also fair to the city and the taxpayers. So we'll have that discussion so we can close this meeting.
Yes, please.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. We did do,
Have we voted yet?
the motion.
Yes, we've tabled 3652.
Okay. So now we're on to resolutions. Okay. Catch up here, guys. This one. All right. Clerk, please read aloud resolution number 2026-05-18-01.
A resolution authorizing and approving the appointment of directors to the Pleasant Valley Community Improvement District Board of Directors.
I'll make a motion, we approve this resolution.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion, questions?
This discussion for, the reason for this is basically the Ross family, because this committee, or this, the improvement district is in place. This is basically setting the board of directors for that. And it's basically for the tax revenue that would be or could be generated from that piece of property only. And the Ross family still has control of it because they still own it. And Matthew would be the city's representative to that. That's what I understand about it. This is requested by them. It needs to be, we need to have a board of directors for that
Yes.
because it's in place currently.
It's been in place since before we came in office. Because it was set before.
The CID?
Yes.
CID's been.
The formation of it was
It's never been activated because there's never been a tax generating
business.
property on that development.
So it was set in place by Tim Harris.
So we have somewhere that the CID is specifically for that address.
Mhm.
Okay, want to make sure that was already.
And it's not impacting any taxes from Quick Trip or surrounding.
No.
Like a lot of CIDs impact a region.
It's,
That CID is just that property.
Yeah, because I think there was a little bit of discussion at one time about trying to extend it to maybe have some gains for the city on up Pleasant Valley Road. But that's not possible. It's the way it's formed, it's for that address, that one, what is it, 17 acres, whatever that is.
Is that, can we see the documentation for that? I just want to make sure it is just that, at that address.
And secondarily to that, in addition to understanding what the scope of the taxation district is, the second piece of it is understanding what revenues could be accrued even in an undeveloped state. Like, are there transactions that they could go through the address that's there in order to create a fund of taxation for?
it would have to be something that generated sales tax.
But can activity be created at that address to generate sales? Like, am I making sense?
Give me an example, because I'm not following you.
Are you saying like a gathering of some sorts? Or where there's not anything built on it, but?
Yeah,
There would have to
but
be
there's an address and the business could, like, any corporation or LLC or any business can set that address as business and then say
It would
that
have
transactions
to, it
occur.
would have to be approved by the Ross family.
And they would have to have a business license at Pleasant Valley.
Here's my concern. I'm not trying to nitpick the things, but the thing at the end of the road is I'm hoping that we don't take a sour deal that we have kind of been handed and have it benefit the other party in such a way that they're able to generate land improving income that they're able to utilize in furtherance of their district.
Mhm.
The entire purpose of the CID is to improve, like, fund and furnish improvements to property. And if there's not any city benefit to it, the entire plan is kind of kibosh. That's my end game. That's my end state.
Well, the city would generate normal sales tax. The CID is the 1% above the general sales tax. So if it's generating CID money, it's also generating sales tax money for the city.
At the rate that Quick Trip contributes or generates and all the other businesses.
So. Anything else?
So
Do you want to table this until we come back with a map that shows that it's only that piece of property?
Yes.
I feel more comfortable.
Okay,
What will they do now that if they were approved today, what could they do?
Yeah. That'd be good.
But like, what are, if it is truly, hey, we just have to have it because the law says the CID has to have a board, then okay, and then they have zero meetings, they have zero financial activity, and it just sits dormant, then cool. We'll go comply with the letter of the law that the CID requires. But if there's activity, I'd like to be more clear on what that activity is, what it's going to be doing, that this board would be facilitating or is required to facilitate.
well, I'll tell you what I would do. If I had owned that property, I would put the CID in place because it's an added benefit to whom I'm going to sell it to. It's already in place. They don't have to expend any money for it. They're going to pay for it when they pay me for the piece of property.
But they'd have to go and rip out and replace a bunch of the board members on it, like forfeit stuff that would have to change.
That's fine. There's a mechanism for them to do that. It's just like sitting on the board of aldermen. Somebody resigns and somebody replaces them. So, okay. Motion and a second on the tabling? Yes?
All right, I'll make a motion, yeah, to table it.
Second.
Okay. Clerk, call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
yeah, we'll gather the information.
Golds,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. That is it? No, no, here's two. Sorry. All right, clerk, please read aloud resolution number 2025-05-18-02.
A resolution amending section 313 health insurance of the personnel manual to address health care coverage for elected officials.
Okay,
So move.
Second.
discussion.
And this is the one that has the change of
Change.
order.
From shall to must.
Shall.
And overall, it is further protecting the city because it requires that the elected official fund their own health insurance, even if it is through a plan offered by the city. It does not utilize city taxpayer money to cover the insurance premiums.
Anything else? Clerk, call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Golds,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Who was that?
Me.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Jenny? Clerk, call the roll.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Callaghan,
Yes.
Golds,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Showers,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you all for hanging in there.
I would be horrified to see, like, the amount of time spent talking for aldermen, because I'm pretty sure mine would be like 3 times everybody's.
So somebody's got to carry them.
It's like that at home too.
Maybe you need to work on 25 words or less.
I know. Sit down.
Just me, Jerry.
It works. I'm invested.
That's good.
Is the other 50%?
Sharon? Yeah.
This is not. This is
Although I think at this point, me and Pat are the most senior board members on the board. So I'm like
And Tom's right
matriarch
also probably.
of the board.
There you go. Look at you giving yourself a big
Isn't that
time.
weird?
Someone would say.
Yeah.
So far, still
Oh, yeah. Yes.